So you went to this event with your sister. What year was that?
2017.
2017. So this is the year after the overdoses, year after, call it rock bottom.
Yeah.
What was that event?
I don't remember the exact event it was. It was a personal development event. And it just, something cracked open. I went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror. I mean, dude, I went there empty. I was still getting fucked up.
Mm.
And everybody around me's on this rah-rah lifting up, trying to elevate their life. And I'm like, these fucking clowns, you know? But that was because subconsciously I was jealous. I wanted what they had. I wanted that freedom from the fucking handcuffs I had on. And I remember going into the bathroom and coming out. And then I remember going back. The event was over. Me and my sister were going home. And we were on the train because we took the train to Jersey. And on the train ride home is where I looked at my sister and we both had that moment where it was just, that was it, you know. But even after that, I still wasn't done. Right?
Yeah, so it wasn't a cold turkey
No, absolutely
situation.
not. No. Absolutely not. So here's how the mind plays tricks and what things that happen, right? So I went home, looked up a place to go to rehab, and I found a place upstate called Arms Acres. And when I found that place, I started doing, afterwards, they said they had a bed for me the next day, ready to go to rehab. All right, sign me up, let's go. I hang up the phone, and my mind starts playing. My mind's like, man, do you really want to do this? How do you know this place is good? Paradigm shifting the other way, right? And I found out that I looked online, did a little research, and found out that someone overdosed at that rehab. Like, that's the first person that ever overdosed at a rehab.
Right.
But that was my way out.
Your own excuse.
It was my way out,
Yeah.
making excuses. So I said, nah, fuck that. I'm not going to this place. And, you know, sometimes we have plans, but God laughs at them. You know, my plan was to get high the rest of my life. And by the grace of God, I ended up finding a place called St. Christopher's, which is upstate New York. And they had a bed a couple days later. I said, all right, I'll take it. And I ended up going. And when we're on our way to rehab, my sister's driving me. And we're past the Starbucks. So I said to my sister, can I stop so I could use the bathroom? And she said, all right. So I stopped. I went inside the bathroom. But when I got into that bathroom, I had no intentions of doing the number one or number two. Mm-hmm. All I really wanted was to get high one last time before rehab. I'm in that bathroom stall with a needle in my hand, and I'm ready to shoot cocaine and heroin into my arm. I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm risking my life. I'm not thinking about the fact that, you know, my sister might be stuck outside because I die in that bathroom. I'm not thinking about the fact that my kids might never see their father again. Nah, all I'm thinking about is myself. You see, I got all these fears racing around inside my head. I got a fear of the withdrawals I'm going to go through because I didn't have opiates in my system anymore. I got a fear of going to a rehab for the first time and being open and vulnerable. I got a fear of life without drugs because that's the only life I knew for 15 years. And I became a shell of who I truly am. And all these fears caused was self-doubt, worry, imposter syndrome, lack of direction, self-validation. But through the journey of personal development and sobriety, I realized and learned that putting those drugs down, that was the easy part, bro. I had to learn to be able to look into the mirror and apologize to myself for the damage that I caused my family, all the self-destruction, the pain, the agony. I had to learn to be able to forgive myself because I had to be able to learn to really peel back the onion and take stock of who I was because I had to learn to change my mindset. I had to learn to change my identity. And I realized something that I want, you know, people in your audience to pick up on because it's so important. And I realized that I'm not a victim of my circumstances and conditions. They don't control my destiny. I do. Because I'm a spiritual being living this human experience, and I can do anything I put my mind to.
Comes back to your choices.
Yeah,
that
it comes
we
back to
started this whole
choices.
thing with.
Absolutely.
When you take ownership of that.
Yes, you have to take ownership of it. If you don't take ownership of it, then you killing your power of choice.
Mm-hmm. Was that the end? Was there a moment where you fell off the wagon or you relapsed
That
later
was,
on?
No, that was when I got to the rehab and I was able to change my life, man. And I was able to start really doing the work, you know. And man, I remember walking into the rehab, right, staring at the ceilings, feeling like the walls were closing in on me. Dude, I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to share my story, my failure, my shame. Because asking for help, it felt like another loss, another hit to my ego. But the truth, my ego was the very thing keeping me in that vicious cycle. So I took the first healthy risk of my life. And I raised my hand. I walked into those rooms where men called each other out on their bullshit and wouldn't let me hide behind a perfect story. I listened to the dude who had 30 days sober. But I also listened to the guy who was in and out of rehab 10 years in a row. And I listened to every single story in between. And I borrowed their hope until I could find my own. And that's when I realized that my network, it wasn't just support, it was survival, right? So fast forward, I get out of rehab, I start rebuilding my life, started chasing success again. I built my business back up, started stacking wins. And guess what happens? The old voice of the ego, man. We all got an ego. Mine came back talking about, you got this, man. You don't need nobody. You done built multi-million-dollar business after multi-million-dollar business. You don't need nobody to tell you how to be successful. But I knew better this time, right? Than going back and just getting high and paying attention to what my ego is telling me, because the ego is what gets in the way and what could get me back to using. So I took another healthy risk, stepping into rooms with a bunch of people making 10 times more than I was, right? Rooms where I wasn't the alpha, rooms where I had to drop that ego and admit, I don't know everything. I'm here to learn. I didn't just show up for the business strategies. I showed up for the mindset, for the energy, for the stories. I started asking questions that made me sweat. I started having conversations that punch holes in my comfort zone. And that's when I realized my network is my net worth, not just in dollars, but in direction, discipline, and destiny. And I realized, and this is important for the audience to pick up on, that taking those healthy risks, asking for help, getting uncomfortable, stepping into the unknown, that's what builds real wealth. Wealth of mind, wealth of spirit, and wealth of impact.
When you were in those rooms with those people making 10 times, 100 times what you're making, are you looking at them and saying they have the life that I want? Or are you trying to just gather little bits of lessons from them?
I'm looking at them saying they have the life that I'm going to have. And I'm trying to gain those bits and pieces. And if you're in a room where you're the wealthiest person, the smartest person, you're in the wrong fucking room. Mm-hmm. There's no growth. You grow from people, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, My family had a saying growing up, a saying in Puerto Rico is, dime con quien te andas y te digo quién eres. It means, tell me who you walk with, and I'm going to tell you who you are.
Your network is your network.
Yeah, you want to be around people who inspire you.
Yep.
People, because if you surround yourself with people who inspire you, guess what? You're going to be inspired to do more with your life.
Yeah, it's the show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Absolutely. Right? Jim Rohn said it the best. Your 5 friends, you're the average of your 5 friends.
Yeah. The 5 people you spend the most time with.
Spend the most time with.
Might as well make those people better.
Absolutely, man.